Everybody knows about Moses and the 10 plagues of Egypt, where God brought disasters upon the Egyptians as a way of forcing Pharaoh to let the Israelite people go free. But did you know that each of the plagues were also an attack on the false gods of Egypt? Let me show you how. The first plague was turning the Nile River into blood. The Egyptians had many gods associated with the Nile, but their god Hapi was the one that they believed controlled the water itself. He was also called the Lord of the Fishes and the Birds. Pharaoh was at the Nile when God turned it to blood. Maybe he was there to worship Hapi. However, when Moses touched the water and it changed into blood, which would have also killed all the fish, it showed that the God of Israel was more powerful than Hapi. The second plague were thousands of frogs everywhere. Surprisingly, the Egyptians had a god for these little green jumpers. His name is Hekut, and he had a head of a frog. Hekut was not able to get rid of the frogs everywhere, so Pharaoh had to ask Moses to ask his God to take them away. The third plague was swarms of little annoying bugs like lice or gnats or mosquitoes. Geb, the Egyptian god of the earth, was supposedly the one who controlled bugs like this. But the God of Moses proved that he was more powerful. The fourth plague brought lots and lots of biting flies. These may have been the stable fly, which can be found throughout Egypt. These flies like to be around cattle and rotting things. There would have been lots of rotting things in the river when it was turned to blood. Stable flies lay 600 to 800 eggs at a time, which then would grow up to be a blood-sucking monster. Khepri, the Egyptian god of creation and rebirth, had the head of an insect. Apparently, Khepri was not able to stop the God of Israel from sending lots of biting insects into the land. The fifth plague was the death of cattle throughout Egyptians' farms. They worshipped a god called Hathor, which had the head of a cow. I guess having a cow's head is not enough to save all the cows from God's wrath. In fact, they had more than one cow god. Apis was the bull god, who had the head of a bull. Isn't he handsome? And his buddy, Anubis, was the unfortunate god who had the head of a jackal. He has pretty cool horns though. Some of the pictures of Anubis make him look like a werewolf. These freaky looking gods were no match for the God of Israel. The sixth plague brought sores and boils upon the silky smooth shaved skin of the Egyptian people. Did you know that the ancient Egyptians used to shave their entire bodies? Yeah, there's a picture for you. Anyway, the Egyptians served a god called Isis. She was the exact opposite of the Isis you are thinking of. This red-dressed beauty queen was the goddess of medicine and peace. I'd say there is not a lot of peace when your body is filled with painful sores. No medicine was able to fix this problem. The God of Israel done did it again. Bible historians think the disease may have been smallpox, West Nile virus, or skin anthrax. None of those are too much fun, believe me. The seventh plague was intense hail. There's nothing quite like thousands of frozen golf balls speeding down from the atmosphere. This would have been even more strange considering Egypt is desert and only has an average rainfall of 1 inch per year. Obviously, this would have been very confusing and strange for the Egyptians. They worshipped a goddess called Nut. She was the goddess of the sky. The Egyptians were probably praying to their nut goddess. but Nut could not help them stop this plague from Israel's God. The 8th plague was swarms of locusts that would have eaten every living plant around. There goes being a vegetarian. The Egyptian god called Seth, the god of storms, would have been the one they would rely on to keep the pestilence like this away from their land. But no matter how hard they prayed to Seth, the swarms continued until Moses' God took them away. The 9th plague was darkness across the land. Ra, the Egyptians' most famous and most powerful god, was not able to bring out the sun for 3 entire days until the God of Israel chose to return light to the land. The 10th plague, definitely the worst, was the death of every firstborn human and animal across Egypt. This was a direct attack against Pharaoh himself, because he and all the people saw the Pharaoh as a god himself, protector of the people. But sadly, he couldn't even protect his own son. As you can see, there was much more to the plagues than we realize. The God of Israel proved himself to be more powerful than any of the man-made artificial gods of Egypt. As a wise philosopher, the Incredible Hawk once said,
"Puny God."
Here are some of the sources I used for my presentation. Thanks for watching. Bye.